All right. All right. All right, this is Sports for Real with Coach Hall with another morning sports bite. And I'm going to get started today because kind of short on time here. Got some important business to take care of real quick. But I want to come on and tell you about yesterday. The NFL, the tag deadline is today. And I come to the ballpark yesterday and I ran into one of my colleagues. And the first thing out of his mouth was, he's pissed. And what are you pissed off about, Coach? I'm pissed because the Bengals franchise tag T. Higgins. Man, we got a game to play. You worry about T. Higgins? Well, my next question was, aren't you a Charger fan? Why are you worried about what the Bengals did with T. Higgins? Yeah, I'm pissed because I was sure that he was going to sign with the Chargers, and that would have made a pretty good offensive improvement for the Chargers had we been able to get T. Higgins. Well, the Bengals had other ideas, and they put the tag on Higgins, and he became the second player so far to be tagged, joining the offensive lineman for the Chiefs, Trent Smith. So that means the other 30 teams are on the clock. They have until 4 o'clock to franchise their players. Now, the question is it really necessary to franchise tag a player? Well, if you have questions about a player and you don't quite know if you want to pay him or not, and you know the player is still good enough to give value to you, and you're on the fence about it, then yeah, you want to tag him until what it does is just buys you more time. And teams will do that if they don't really want to pay a player X amount of dollars. But in reality, a team doesn't have to tag anybody. Case in point, my Steelers, they didn't tag anybody last year. So there's no guarantee that they're going to tag anybody this year. But I think what may happen with Pittsburgh is they're going to do something slick with one of the quarterbacks. I think Russell Wilson, they may cut him loose, and he might end up with Pete Carroll. And they're going to take Justin and put a tag on him just to hold him to see what they want to do with him. That's the thing that I see that Pittsburgh is going to do there. But just to look at some of the tag amounts that the players got last year, quarterbacks got $40 million. Wide receivers 23.9, running backs 13.6. Hell, the place kickers got $6.3 million. There's a lot of money to be made with these franchise tags. So even though it seems like a lot of money, the teams would be saving a lot of money when you put the tag on somebody, and that help you get a wider variety of players now, especially since the salary cap is going up to $279 million. So it'll be interesting again to see who gets the tag applied to them. But as far as other news goes, the Vikings, they have announced that they're not going to tag Sam Darnold, which is not surprising because last year he came out and had a great turnaround season, and he was doing great until the end. They lost the last 2 games. They lost the top seed playoff against Detroit, and then they come around and lose to the Rams the very next week. Now, a lot of people are upset because Minnesota had to play in the first round with that gaudy record they had. But like the coach said in the end, they knew what the setup was before the season started. I don't care if you 16-1. If you don't win the division, then you're going on the road. And you cannot penalize some other division because they was more competitive than yours, and you just happen to have a dream season, if you were really that great, then you're going to take care of business no matter where you play. And they didn't do that. And because they didn't do that, they lost. But they got everybody talking about how the NFL should change the way they do things. We've heard this talk before, especially when you have a team that goes like 8-9 and make the playoffs, or 7 and whatever. And it's a legitimate argument on the surface, but at the same time, that's not the way the league was set up. And because of that, the Vikings made a lot of news because of that 14-3 record. But they proved that they were going in the opposite direction when they could not beat the Rams in the first round. So I don't have any sympathy for them at all for them going 14-3 and having to go on the road. Sorry, pal, you knew the rules. But because of that, it cost Donald a whole lot of money. And he didn't play very well. And now the Vikings are pretty much saying, this is the reward for you not playing well in those last 2 games. We're not going to put a tag on you, so you're going to be available to go shop with these other teams. That kind of unjams the locker room in the quarterback room for Minnesota because Daniel Jones is also a free agent. As bad as he was in New York, he didn't touch the field in Minnesota the time he was there, but he does have interest from other teams. He has interest from Cleveland and Indianapolis. He might be a better fit with the Colts. I've never been sold on Anthony Richardson. I don't think he had enough time to really develop. At least with an older guy like Jones, you have a better opportunity to see what you got with a player that's been around a little bit longer and have Richardson sit and see what he could have been doing for himself. But I don't think, he's probably going to end up with the Browns. But the way Jackson Dart was talking, this is the greatest team, and they got everything lined up for the future. He was trying to talk himself into a draft choice by the Browns, and he might have just done it. And if they were to draft, say, a Jackson Dart, then they would have a quarterback like a Daniel Jones to work with him moving forward. Then I could understand that. So because of that, that's going to clear up the Vikings quarterback room. He's probably going to go somewhere else, and that will leave J.J. McCarthy to come back to try to be the starter next year, this upcoming year. But that puts the Vikings also in a situation where if McCarthy gets hurt again, now you don't have any quarterbacks. So it might just be to their best interest to re-sign Donald and see what happens from there. Brian Fogler says, hey, who'd you pick when number 9 for the Saints? I assume you mean you want a quarterback. I would think that it all depends on who's available. Dart would probably be a good fit there as a quarterback for the Saints. But I'm not quite sure who's going to be there at that time. JC says, good morning, Create Plus. I'm doing fine, sir. Appreciate you dropping in. I'm asking today, do you think it's necessary for a team to free agency tag a franchise tag any player? I found out that Pittsburgh, they didn't tag anybody last year. So that means it's not necessary to put a tag on a player. But what it does is give the team more time to negotiate, and the player is going to make a guaranteed amount of money. So neither side is hurting, but the player who wants that max contract, it slows them down a little bit. And that's kind of what frustrating T. Higgins, because this is the second year in a row that they put the tag on him. So if it comes down to it next year, I think he's going to be wanting to be out of Cincinnati or at least pay the man. And the way that Cincinnati is treating their receivers, I don't blame them. They got Jamar Chase. I don't remember if he inked a new deal or not, but they should have paid him at the beginning of the year. They didn't do it. And now you got T. Higgins jammed up. It's letting me know that they really don't want to pay their wide receivers. With the explosiveness with Burrows and Higgins and Chase, that's a dangerous football team when you got everybody on the field. And I think that the Bengals would be well advised to sign this man to a nice contract along with Jamar Chase. Let's see what you guys are saying. A lot of you think it's necessary to franchise tag a player. Well, like I said, it's an advantage to the organization. But if you're a player that's trying to get your money, it's not an advantage at all. And it's just a stall tactic is what it is. And what they end up doing is paying the player anyway. But Donald, in a situation with him, um, it would have made sense to try to hold on to the guy or not or sign him to a big contract until the season was over and the full body of work was there. Had you done what the Cowboys did and signed Prescott to that big contract, that he goes on to get hurt, who loses in that deal? So it's situations like that that make teams want to hesitate. And speaking of that, I've seen Jimmy Johnson talking about the Prescott situation. He said he never would have signed Prescott to that deal. He would have waited till the season was open. And his explanation was, we'll worry about it at the end of the season. And if he gets hurt, we save a lot of money. And the Cowboys definitely would have saved a lot of money had they waited till the end of the season. JC said, I was surprised Debo went to Washington for a fifth round. Thought he was worth second or third. Yeah, but you don't look at running backs in the same vein as they do quarterbacks. Um, it's not surprising. They always want to dumb down the value of the running back, but you saw the value of the running back with Derrick Henry and Barkley for Philadelphia. Uh, the nature of football hasn't changed. It's just that these new modern ideas and everybody wants to spread it out and light the scoreboard up. Everybody wants to, put on the show. But the basis of football hasn't changed. The true football team is on the line of scrimmage. If you got offense and the defensive lines, you control the game. All the offense, the skill guys, all they're doing is carrying the ball and making the catch every now and then. But the real game is in the trenches, man. So teams should build from the inside out. I've seen enough Ole Miss lately to pass on Dart. I want the best OL. Well, just like I said, the football team is really the offensive line. So I can agree with you. We're trying to fortify your line of scrimmage, but you still need a quarterback. And I don't know if you sold on the quarterback you have now in New Orleans. We got Spencer Rattler. I don't know about him. But Dart, he can throw it around. And if you put him in an offense that emphasizes throwing it around, he can be a valuable asset. But see, here's the thing. Everybody gets caught up into who's the best, who's the highest rated quarterback. Like everybody's talking about Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders being the top two. But in reality, they may not be the top two at all. It's that nondescript quarterback that's probably going to rise up and be the best out of all of them. Is that Jackson Dart? We'll see. Is it an undrafted quarterback like Purdy? We'll see. But only time will tell. Meanwhile, the unknown, people are going to go with who they think. And because they think a Ward and a Sanders are going to be the best, then they're going to look at a guy like Jackson Dart sideways because he doesn't look anything like those other two. But in reality, he could be the best out of all of them. So, like I said, we'll see on that. But other quarterback news, I meant to tell you the other day that it's not surprising that Stafford re-signed with the Rams. He was flirting with the idea of going free agent, and Pittsburgh and the Giants and a couple of other teams were getting all excited about it. But it didn't make sense for him to leave LA at this point of the season. I don't know what he restructured his deal to, but he was asking for $50 million. If some of these other quarterbacks getting $50 million and hadn't done a whole lot, then he was certainly worth that amount. So it made plenty of sense for him to resign. So I don't know what's going to happen with Aaron Rodgers. He might go to the commune again and might not see him no more. But if he does come back, he go help some losing team. If he can stomach losing for the money, he'll be back. But we'll see. But just to recap, the franchise tag deadline is today. So far, only two teams have tagged their players. The Chiefs tagged lineman Trent Smith, and the Bengals yesterday tagged T. Higgins for the second straight year. I don't think he's probably not happy about that, but that's just the way it goes. in the team's discretion to do that. I don't know how many times you can tag a player. I think the Bengals should just rip up that contract and pay that man and stop beating around the bush because he's good enough and you don't really have a replacement for him, especially in the experience dealing with Joe Burrows. Now, the only other person that you probably can go after and you don't have a chance to get is Jefferson out of Minnesota, and that's never going to happen. ESPN says the Giants looking to get Rodgers. That wouldn't surprise me at all. You don't have to move. All you got to do is move across town or on the other side of the building. The Rattlers, okay, do you think we got another vote here? Some people said no. So that's about par for the course there. But anyway, let me grab this thing over here. All right. But yes, the deadline today is at 4 o'clock. So be interesting to see what these teams do. I think Pittsburgh might do something like try to franchise Justin Fields, or to be an outlier like they always are, they probably won't franchise tag anybody. With the extra money floating around, might not be necessary to tag anybody unless you just want to pay one particular player a whole lot of money. But besides my assistant coach, who's a Charger fan who thought he had an opportunity to get T. Higgins, the only other disappointed people besides maybe Higgins himself are Jaguar fans. They thought it was a possible reuniting with Trevor Lawrence from the old Clemson days, and they would be excited about that. But I think Lawrence need to get his head together and come on down here and play, because I wonder if the new coach, Cohen, actually wants Lawrence. And you might have another situation like what you had with Russell Wilson and Sean Payton. Probably not as dramatic, but I'm hearing things that he's not really his quarterback. So it might be a clash down here in Jacksonville, especially if things don't go right away. All right. JC says Slay got released from the Eagles yesterday. I saw that. What they're trying to do is get a little bit younger. Even though these guys have been in the Pro Bowl and all that, there's enough film on them that you can come up with a game plan to beat these people. Washington, they wasn't able to overcome their mistakes to take advantage of some of those things, especially when you fall way behind early. But there are some teams out there, if you got time to throw, you can beat some of these older players. You got enough film on them, you know exactly what they're going to do in certain situations, and you game plan for those kind of things. So what you try to do is change it up a little bit and not get stale. If you notice the way they do with these quarterbacks, C.J. Stroud, he didn't have the better, as good a season they had as a rookie because they had a year of tape on him. And they're going to break him down, and they're going to figure out, they figured out what some things they could do to slow him down. The same thing is going to happen to Jaden Daniels, but getting Deebo Samuels helps that progression of the Commanders because he brings in different elements. So whereas Daniels would do certain things, now you can start doing other things with Samuels to create problems for the defense. So these are the reasons why you put these trades in and get rid of all these veteran players, because you don't want to get stale. These guys are the best coaches in the world, and all they do all day and all night is look at film and try to scheme and game plan of how can I beat this guy next to me. And that's the reason why Slay had to go. Been around a while, great career. He'll wind up somewhere. It's just that the Eagles, if they want to stay where they are, they got to make some moves. So it's probably going to be some other moves coming. And don't be surprised about some of the free agency moves that these teams make. All right. I got to cut it short today. It's about the 20 minutes. Just came on a little early today because I got to do a little testing. I take care of a little business. So I just want to come on and talk about the deadline. And I'm interested to see who all gets tagged this afternoon. Should be some interesting names on there. Most teams will tag the players, but don't look for Sam Darnold. Vikings already said they're not going to tag him. And like I said, he lost a lot of money with those last 2 games of the season. But he may end up back with Minnesota just on a smaller deal than he would have gotten had he won at least one of those games. So it'll be interesting to see. But in the meantime, I appreciate you guys checking in with me. Wherever you are in the world, like and subscribe. and I get some hot information. I'll be back on with you later on this afternoon. Um, and until then, have a great day. And meantime, I got to go to work. So I'm out.